Hi, everybody. This is Kate Meszaros. Welcome back to Soul Stories. Today, I'm going to share a blog that I wrote called Be Your Own Badass. It's from my Yoga Off the Mat series that I publish on Substack, and I'll put a link to Substack below. So if you're interested in reading other blogs, you can find them there. So I hope you enjoy this one. I like to do things my own way. I suppose it comes naturally, for my mother often lamented about how stubborn I was once I learned to speak. I had a temper too, and combined with pig-headedness, it made for a volatile concoction. Still, having been a strong-willed child served me well when I taught preschool children and habitually heard the mantra, "No, I do it myself." Understanding that independence is a trait to be encouraged with small children, I stood back and watched while they struggled with tying their shoes or zipping their coats. Eventually, they mastered those seemingly simple tasks and learned that small successes meant a lot, especially when perseverance was part of the process. Even now, I still like to go my own way. As an adult, I don't ignore advice from trusted friends. I simply filter their subjective counsel and apply what works. Over the years of giving requested guidance myself, I know that I can talk until I've exhausted every avenue of advice, but in the end, people are going to do exactly what they want. Still, I respect that, for no matter what anyone else says, in the end, I'm going to do what I feel is best for me, too. Take learning to fish, for example. My significant other, Steve, was an avid fisherman for decades, but I hadn't a clue how to cast a line, let alone reel one in. Early in our relationship, Steve took me to a local park where he hooked a bluegill, then handed me the pole, saying, "You do it, Kate." He gave me pointers about how to avoid the reeds so I wouldn't break the line, and how to give the fish a little slack when it struggled so I wouldn't lose it. It was fun, but not as entertaining as watching me, or so Steve said on the way home. In the summer of 2017, we spent a week at Posey Lake. One afternoon, Steve showed me some pointers while catching bass. "Come get in the boat and practice casting overhead," he told me. "Aim for the bubbles." After Steve headed for the house, I switched tactics and cast the line off to the side, finding I had much better control, landing the worm exactly where I had aimed. Cast after cast after cast, I hit the mark dead on, but alas, didn't hook a fish. 15 minutes later, I was still practicing, but boredom slowly crept in. Steve sat in the distance talking on the phone while I scanned the nearby water in search of movement. Suddenly, I saw a ripple in the distance and cast my line, not how Steve had taught me, but how I had figured it out for myself. Sure enough, a fish tugged on the worm and I hooked him. "Steve," I shouted. "Steve, I got one." Reeling it in as best I could, it was difficult to keep the line tight with the bass thrashing and fighting the hook. "Hurry, get the net," I shouted, elated to have finally caught one all by myself. Steve took a picture of me with my first catch. "That's a respectable bass. Good job, Kate." Alas, the victory was short-lived. After casting a while longer, I soon lost interest. "Catch one, and I'm done," I laughed, handing him the pole so I could go hiking. In our current culture of ever-shifting values, it can be hard to know what to hold on to, where to put our energy, when to go our own way. I was talking to a woman at our gym earlier this week, and the conversation dipped its toes into familiar waters. How can we hold our center in the midst of the blitzkrieg of changes of the past few weeks? "I don't watch the news as much as I used to," Sue admitted. "My nervous system can't take it. I want to be aware, but I can't let myself be aware of everything or I'll lose my mind." I nodded in agreement. It's overwhelming, isn't it? "Yes, I just want to take care of my life, my grandkids, my husband," she said. "That's where I find my peace." "There's a wonderful practice I learned last week that really helps me," I told her. A friend of mine taught me that whenever she becomes triggered or overstimulated by anything, news, her neighbors, traffic, or even too many texts, she gently puts her hand on the area right above her heart and breathes. Sue nodded. "I take it one step further," I told her. As I watch myself breathe, I silently say, come home, come home, come home. I explained that the area above the heart is the seat of compassion, something we need to cultivate for ourselves first before we can extend it to others. We put our hands above our hearts and took a few quiet breaths. After a moment, I said, try it the next time you're feeling upset and see if it works for you. Then I smiled, and if it doesn't, find another way. Be your own little badass. Sue laughed. I'm serious. We all have to find ways to take care of ourselves so we can take care of each other. This time in our lives isn't the end game, and we will make it through to the other side. In Western culture, we often feel like we have to go it alone. We ask ourselves, what can I do to change this? What can I do to fix the problem? We forget that there are communities full of incredible people who have been working on solutions for decades. There are those whose specific purpose on this planet is to take care of the multitude of issues about which we fret. Those groups don't need us to reinvent the wheel. They need our support, our attention, and our care, our own unique badassery in our hometowns to extend that work into the lives of those around us, the ones who may not be able to speak or act for themselves. So while I embrace the fact that I like to do things my way, I don't have to walk through this world alone. I have come to realize that when courageous people come together in strength, we can do mighty things. I don't have to single-handedly confront the woes of the world. I don't have to fix a problem I had no hand in creating. I simply need to take a quiet moment to come home to myself, then make the calm, conscious decision of where and how to engage with the world with perseverance, with strength, and with purpose, and perhaps kick some ass if need be. I'm up for it. Are you? And thanks for listening to Be Your Own Badass. This picture was not taken at Posey Lake. This was actually taken at Olander Park. I want to say like 2018, 2019. Again, I caught that bass and then I was done. Steve had to laugh at me. He says, let me take a picture of it before you go hiking again. So anyway, I hope you can find simple ways to take care of yourself, to take care of your community. And until we see each other again on Soul Stories, I wish you peace. Thanks for listening.